The path to the NFL draft always begins at the Reese's Senior Bowl. Nearly every general manager and more scouts than you can count attend the event every year. Today, I wanted to cover day one of practice, a quick look at the top prospects in attendance, the biggest standouts from today's practice, and more. Let's get right into it. Today's practice really showcased the amount of talent in the trenches, especially on the interior of both sides of the ball. The national team practiced first, and it really got the Senior Bowl off to a great start, with some offensive explosions and showcasing some talent on the offensive line. The star for me on the national team was Minnesota tackle Ariante Ursary. He dominated most of the day, but he shut down two pass rushers that were both coming into this one with a ton of momentum, winning reps against Boston College's Donovan Izaraku and Marshall's Mike Green. He's an imposing tackle prospect. Ursary's biggest question was that he struggled against speed rushers at the collegiate level. His reps and performance today showed an improvement on that front. If he can keep that up all week, he will be shooting up draft boards. The rest of the national team remained offensive focused. The offensive line had a big day overall. Wyatt Milam might have disappointed with his 32-inch arm length, but he looked really good inside at guard. Josh Connerly had a big day too, looking much more comfortable on the right side than he did on the left, however. As far as playmakers, it was Elijah Arroyo emerging as the best tight end in the class. He had a huge day. And then I really liked what I saw from two North Carolina State teammates, Gray Zabel and Anthony Belton. There was some receiving talent on this team as well. Both of my top two receivers from the day came from this team. It was easily Miami's Xavier Restrepo and Iowa State's Jaden Higgins. I did expect a better showing from Oregon's Tez Johnson, but it is just one practice. Onto the defensive side of the ball, Mike Green, the pass rusher from Marshall, he showed his burst off the line and insane bend around the edge, but he was up and down overall. He definitely lost some reps today, but after reports that he weighed in at 236, he looked like a solid 250 today. Overall, not a bad performance from the Marshall pass rusher. But then one other pass rusher to talk about, Michigan's Josiah Stewart. He had a good day despite the O-line's overall performance, but the guy who stood out on defense was Florida State's Joshua Farmer. He just dominated the centers today. The only guy who even stood a chance was Jonah Monheim. The Florida State interior lineman is another name to watch. But onto the American team, it was a completely different story. It was the defensive line that was dominant, especially from the interior. There was a handful of defensive tackles that really stole the show, led by Ole Miss's Walter Nolan. This guy looks so impressive, and he's climbing up draft boards. A guy I see as a lock to go in the top 15 if he keeps it up. He has an absolutely explosive first step, and his power was on full display today. He looked like the best player on the field for the most part, but the rest of the American team defensive tackles came to compete. Deion Walker is an absolute beast, and he took turns with Shamar Stewart, TJ Sanders, and Omar Norman Lott, just wreaking absolute havoc in the backfield all day long. A monster day for the defensive tackles in practice for the American team. Although the offensive line did try to battle back. Emory Jones had some good reps inside at guard, and so did his teammate Miles Frazier, who definitely got beat badly a few times, but he battled back and had some good reps against these tough interior linemen. The surprise guy that caught my eye was Jacksonville State interior guard Clay Webb. He battled all day long, and he won the most important rep of the day. The coaches lined everybody up to watch, and they had one-on-ones to end the day. It was tied offensive line and defensive line, so they had one more battle to determine the winner, and the losing side had to do 25 push-ups. It was Clay Webb going one-on-one against Shamar Stewart. I expected Stewart to dominate him, but it was Clay Webb coming through on a day when the D-line dominated. Webb won the biggest rep of the day. Keep an eye on this guy. He's a competitor. But there were a couple other guys on the offensive side of the ball that had pretty good days. Kansas running back Devin Neal. Devin Neal's definitely a guy to keep an eye on. He's one of my sleeper running backs who just looks the part, and he showed off his hands today as well. Another intriguing player is Jalen Milroe. I don't know what to think about this guy, but he definitely showed off some talent today, and we'll see how his week goes. A lot of eyes on him down in Alabama. And then it was LSU tight end Mason Taylor, who tried his best to replicate what Elijah Arroyo did. Two stud tight ends at the Senior Bowl this year. But overall, it's a great start to Senior Bowl practices. Here's a quick glance of the top prospects coming into the week. We'll revisit this after the week's over and check on the biggest risers and fallers of Senior Bowl week. This is where the path to the draft starts, and this is where the biggest movement of everyone's draft board happens. Is there anyone you have your eye on or want me to pay attention to closely this week? Let me know in the comments. Please hit that like button to support the channel. And until next time, stay tuned.